Welcome to another edition of Living with Purpose. Today, I am interviewing my better half, Alka Badshah, who's the founder and CEO of Anarti Therapeutics. She's had this wonderful journey from being an architect to a software engineer managing large projects for Fortune 500 companies, and now a founder of a company that deals with pain management. So please join me in welcoming Alka. Alka, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And I'm delighted to be here and tell my story. Thank you.
Please tell your story from, how you grew up and the journey that you had and why you're doing what you're doing today.
Sure. I'll start with my birth. I actually was born in England. My father was doing mechanical and aeronautical engineering in England. And that was where I was born, but moved to India soon after when I was 1 year old, and pretty much grew up in India. My father was in the Air Force, so we were moving quite frequently every 2 to 3 years. This was good and bad. It had some positives and some negative effects. Because we were moving every 2 years, there were no long-term relationships and friendships, but I got to meet a lot of people from different walks of life, from different areas, and so that gave me a little bit wider perspective. One of the things, because I had changes in my friends, my mother was consistent in my life, and she became my best friend. And I learned a lot from her in terms of using common sense to solve problems. And to this day, I do that. My father was obviously mechanical engineering, so very good at math. His father was a professor at the university in math, so I got those genes from his side. And this made it very possible to have left and right brain, which actually led me to join architecture after my high school.
Talk a little bit about the architecture journey. So because of your influence of both the right and left brain, you decide to go into architecture. And talk a little bit about that journey and then your coming to the United States.
Yeah, so architecture was a really good medium because of the left and right brain, like you said. And I was very good in structural design, but my focus was really in using spaces for people. So I really focused on psychology of the spaces rather than form, which showed up in my work. And then after that, I came to the US. I came because Akhtar was at MIT, and we were just married, so I came for that. And then after coming here, I did a 6-month internship with Moshe Safdie, who is a very renowned architect, and then decided to take a special course at MIT to learn computer science, because computer science and programming was just about coming up at that time. It was becoming a thing. So I joined the Media Lab to learn development.
And what year was that?
That was in 84, I believe.
So early 80s is really, it's the starting of formalized computer education. You were also at MIT and the Media Lab, which had become a very renowned institute. So talk a little bit about that experience there.
So I was there for one course, and they loved me and I loved it. I really took to computer science. As a result, they gave me a full ride admission to a graduate studies program. So that was kind of the beginning of my career in computer science. And actually, in the middle of it, we had our first son. So it was a great experience to be really at the forefront of technology when Macintosh was just coming out. All these technologies were just getting released. I don't think Windows was a thing at that time. The GUI was not a big thing at that time. So I was programming some of the languages and machines that people now don't even know about, like Grinnell and PL1. So that was my upbringing at MIT. Loved it. And then I joined various high-tech firms and ended up at Microsoft. At Microsoft, I was hired to start the UI group at MCS for the East Coast.
Tell a little bit of what is MCS, because our listeners will not know what MCS.
MCS is Microsoft Consulting Services. It is, I was an employee of Microsoft, but worked with clients of Microsoft like AT&T, SeaWorld, Ernst& Young, Deloitte and Touche. So these are all my clients through Microsoft. And being the only resource on the East Coast for this kind of work, I had to go anywhere from Washington, D.C. in the south to Cincinnati. Usually MCS consultants don't travel, but I was doing way more traveling at that time.
And by this time, when you joined Microsoft, you also were raising a family. Talk a little bit about that journey, as you were also very early woman, technology, raising a family in the workforce. So talk a little bit about that experience and how that worked with your life.
So it was obviously challenging raising a family with 3 very active boys and having a job like Microsoft, which is in itself a stressful job, and then on top of it traveling. It was not easy, but I solved some of those problems. After we had 2 kids, I hired nannies. I advertised in far places like Oklahoma to hire a live-in nanny. I kind of used that creativity to solve some of those problems. And so we had live-in nannies for the kids. We had, when the kids were going to school or to part-time school, half-time school, we hired a person who was in theater to look after them half-time in exchange for room and board. So we came up with these creative solutions, which worked out really well. Kids loved them, loved him, we loved him, and it was a really good situation. So I think once you are in a career, you learn to solve your problems creatively. And in being a foreign country, it was not easy. I didn't have a network of family. But we still managed. We still managed to bring up our kids really well. All 3 of them are doing really well. So they did not suffer me not being home at such an early age.
We knew a lot of people, women especially, dropped off of the workforce while they were raising kids. You actually chose not to do that. So talk a little bit about that dynamics and how it also helped you with your job.
Now, when anybody asks me, for example, other mothers ask me, and I tell them that when the kids are young, what they need really is to be fed, to be cleaned, and to be looked after, to be kept safe. They did not leave me at all. As soon as I walked in, the attachment stayed. They would cling to me. So if they didn't do that, then I would be worried. But they were always bonded with me. When they grew up and they started their careers, they came to me for career advice. And that proved to me that my being a career woman was actually beneficial to them, because not only they asked me for help when they were starting businesses or looking for jobs, but they respected me not just as a homemaker mother, but as a career woman. And that was very satisfying. That made it all worth it.
So you are at Microsoft, and then Microsoft moved you to Seattle, and that was a whole new chapter and change that happened.
Right. We actually, Microsoft moved us 2 times. Once from Boston to New York when they hired me, and then from New York to Seattle. So it was a cross-country move at that time. Again, some challenges moving kids in the middle of April, in the middle of school year. Some kids were fine. Some kids had a little bit of a challenge because they were losing all their friends and their infrastructure. But we all adjusted, and I started the new job, and it worked out fine. I think there are challenges, and you work with them and you deal with them, and it is fine. One of the things that I did was I insisted that we move into new development because everybody was new, and the kids had a place to play, and it was not on the hills where they would not be able to bike and all that. And I think that for the kids was a really good decision.
You've talked a little bit about the family. Talk a little bit about your work and the impact that you were having there, and then the transitions that started happening in your life.
Right. So I built a team of, I was running the team for UX, the user interface, and I had about a team of 30 people under me. I took a really team that was with very low morale because they'd had some challenges with previous managers. I took the team from scoring 30 on OHI to 80.
What is OHI?
OHI is the measure of the team's success, or how the team rates on
So it's a measurement metric, satisfaction index.
measurement metrics. I've forgotten what it actually stands for. So, and then that was an accomplishment itself, taking a team to 30 to 80. But that I didn't do that by just giving people whatever they wanted. I got really good work out of them. And so much so that our team was winning best practices awards across the company because we managed to deliver good work, do it the right way, and improve some processes along the way. So the learning there was you can have people do hard work and still be happy if you're conscious about what they want to do, what they're good at, and you align their deliverables with their aptitude. And so that was very, very satisfying in terms of not only improving the OHI, but also getting the awards. Because sometimes people think that, if you let everybody go, if they're just working 20 hours a week, they'll be happy, but that's not the case. People are very happy working hard if they're doing the right thing.
So you had a very successful career at Microsoft. You were on a growth trajectory, and then you decided to leave. Talk a little bit about that change and then what ensued after that and how you then decided to create what you have launched today.
Yeah. So along the way, somewhere in early 20s, I was diagnosed with something that's called fibromyalgia, which is a pain condition. And so I took some time off to take care of that. And I went for some treatments and managed to come out reasonably from it. And then I went back, worked for another 3 years. But fibromyalgia is a chronic disease. Once it's diagnosed, once you have it, you can manage it, but you have it. And so after 3 years of going back, I realized that I was not 100% for family, for work, and for everything else. So I needed to make some compromises, and job was the one to go so that I could manage my family, I could manage myself, I could manage my condition. Then started this whole thing about being on prescriptions. At that time, doctors were not really acknowledging fibromyalgia. I was lucky. I had a rheumatologist as my doctor. So it was even diagnosed, and most doctors didn't even know about it. And so at that time, there was no prescription for fibromyalgia. So the doctors were just retargeting depression medicines or heavy pain medications. Most of them had side effects. They did not work for the condition fully, got me some other serious side effects like mental fog, being dizzy, being one of them actually, I started gaining a pound a week. And that was when I said, this is enough. I cannot deal with prescriptions. I have to go natural. And that's when this journey started for me with research, trial and error. I came up with the formulation that worked for me very well. And now I have been without pharma for 5 years. I've just been taking my own solutions and it has worked for me. I have a better life. And not only is my pain manageable and reduced, I'm actually able to think clearly, focus clearly, and have a career or a business where I can focus on that. Once I discovered that this works for me, and I know there is a lot of people, like about 30 million people in the world that are suffering with similar condition. And if you take chronic pain, there's 50 million people just in the US that are suffering from chronic pain. And they all either take some kind of opioids or some other medications. They're heavy medications, and that decreases their quality of life. So I want to educate people who have fibromyalgia, to learn how to manage their conditions, maybe using my formulations, and people who don't have fibromyalgia to be cognizant of their family and what they're going through.
So this all sounds fantastic, but what is it? What did you develop and why is it working so well?
So I kind of combined the CBD. CBD is come to be known as very good for pain medication, pain solution. This has no THC, so it doesn't get you high. And I combined that with...
Tell me, what is THC?
THC is the cannabinoids that get you high. So my formulations have no THC. It just has CBD. It's just cannabinoids. And so I just use that along with Ayurvedic ingredients like turmeric, like holy basil, like ginger and frankincense, arnica. All these are known to be natural inflammation killers. So that's what I use. I actually got an efficacy in vitro test done, scientific study done on the formulation. And it showed that it reduced the inflammation proteins, which are called cytokines, by 40 to 75%. And that was an affirmation to me that it's not in my head, it actually works. I'm seeing the effects that it is showing. So that really boosted my confidence in the formulations.
So what has been the impact of this? Like, you've been out there in the market and people are using it. So tell us a little bit about what it is doing, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about why purpose is important and how purpose is driving what you're doing.
So initially, I focused on just fibromyalgia. And then I realized, as people were using it, that it was actually very good for sleep, for stress reduction, for anxiety reduction, for just being calm. And the balm, I have two formulations. One is a balm and one is an oral tincture. And people started telling me stories. One person said, "You called me a healer." One person said, foot was all swollen and he applied it. In 2 weeks, he was playing golf. One person, a dear friend of ours who'd lost her son, was going through a really bad patch with not being able to sleep and not being able to think positively. And she had this, and in 1 week she said, I can now not only sleep during the day, I can actually think positively. And so these kind of testimonials have really given me energy to go forward, to help people who are going through all these conditions and who haven't found a solution for their condition.
So you've got this. What is next for you?
So next is really to get my message out to various kinds of people. I mean, and I'm finding that young people are now using it just to reduce their stress and be able to sleep. There are people older people are using it for their pain. So I need to just get my message out widely, and so people can actually use it, try it for themselves, and benefit from it. That is my purpose. That is what I'm going to do.
So talk a little bit about why purpose is important in everybody's life and how purpose has actually allowed you to overcome some of the challenges that you've had.
Purpose is that energy that actually pulls you forward. And in my case, when I discovered that this was helping me, that became my purpose, because I needed to take it out to people. I needed to help other people who were going through similar conditions and make their life a little bit better. Because I feel like before I was alive, but I was not living when I was in so much pain. And now I feel like I've got my life back. And that's what I want to do, to help other people.
So we're coming to the end of our conversation. Give us your one golden nugget, a piece of wisdom that you want to leave behind for our listeners.
I think purpose is not a goal that you just set for yourself and strive to have it. Purpose is something you discover by living a life, and then discovering what is it that you can do, the values that you have, the values that you bring to other people, and you help other people by spreading that word, by helping them, by even having a conversation with people helps them a lot. And that is the purpose. You want to help.
Alka, thank you so very much for this conversation. Looking forward to seeing how successful you are. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Living with Purpose. Remember, purpose is that energy that continues to drive humanity forward. Use your purpose. Show up with authenticity. You can always make a difference in everything that you do. Alka, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.